My name is Ronnie Cruz, and this is Path of the Network Marketer. All right, welcome back to the show. It is day 60, episode 60. That's right, episode 60. It's going by pretty quick. We're a full 10 episodes since our 50th celebration. So I think it's one of those things that we're going to be at 100 before you know it, and then we're going to have to try to figure out what direction we're gonna go with this show. Anyways, neither here nor there. Let's get back into the moment and jump into the topic of this episode. I want to talk about communication, and this might be a two-parter. So make sure, if you're brand new to the show, thank you first of all, and welcome. But make sure you subscribe or you follow whatever happens to be on the particular app that you're listening on, because I do oftentimes, do multiple episode series. So a topic like communication is pretty big, so I may have to split it up into at least two. I want to talk about this because, yesterday, like we talked about connecting with people and how important that is, to really refine and hone that skill. Because, even outside of network marketing, we have to just need the ability to connect, right? And if that's something that you're not good at, it's going to be harder to function in the world. It's going to be harder to function in society. So communication is really an extension of that, right? Like that, it's a big part of being able to connect with people. I don't think that we are as aware as we should be of how complex communication actually is. And also on top of that, if you go back and listen to the episodes on information and how we're inundated by the information, and the internet is all that access, that instant access to information, I think is making us into lazy thinkers. And when you guys hear this model of communication, you'll understand why I think all of this kind of comes into play. And so for today's episode, I'm going to talk about the front end of communication. That's sharing an idea or ideas, concepts with another person, right? That end of communication, because there's the back end as well when you're receiving the communication. But let's just talk about the front end, sharing an idea with a person or a group of people through whatever medium you happen to be communicating on. So the process, as I mentioned, is actually much more complex than you might think, because there are so many spots in that process. There's so many points in that process where it can completely go awry. So it starts in the communicator's head, right? In their mind, right? They have a concept, they have an idea, or a group of ideas that they have in their mind, and so they have to translate that into language, right? They have to translate those thoughts into language, and that, obviously, whatever language you happen to think in. I think in English. I think the accuracy of your communication of your idea will depend largely on the mastery of whatever language you happen to think in. So that's the first place where it could absolutely go awry. If you don't have a strong use or mastery of any particular language, whatever that language happens to be, then you're not going to be able to clearly communicate your ideas and your thoughts, right? So that's step number one, man. Like, make sure you're working to improve your language skills, improve your handle and mastery of the language that you happen to speak and think in. So that means reading more. That means listening to good audios, but that also means practicing, writing, right? Like for me, I didn't do this intentionally, because like I had the idea I need to master language. It was just kind of the road that I was on. I love creative writing, and I love, especially when I was younger, I loved writing poetry, and as a musician, obviously writing lyrics. You have to kind of craft your words doing those things, right? And especially on the creative side. Actually, especially now as a speaker, that's kind of I've been able to transfer those skills because it is in a sense you're crafting your ideas into language that hopefully people understand. And so the better your mastery and handle of that particular language, the higher possibility that the ideas will be communicated, right? So there's already kind of dissonance there. Like, again, if it really depends on your ability to communicate or translate those ideas into the language. And then, of course, whatever medium you happen to be communicating in, verbally obviously is preferred. It with face, with kind of video or in person, I think really maximizes communication because I mean you have all the faculties, right? Like words are, a very small percentage actually of actual communication. You have all your nonverbal cues, you have the tonality of your voice, et cetera, et cetera. So, as much as possible, especially if you're trying to communicate very important ideas and things that really matter to you, you don't want to leave that to just a text, right? Like we see things going wrong because there's so much subtext and there's so many other layers and nuance that can't get communicated through just words on a page or text on a screen, right? I mean, that's why literature stands the test of time. Good literature stands the test of time, right? Good writing stands the test of time because, it can elicit and communicate ideas and complex thoughts with just words, right? Like you have your master authors and your master writers. I mean, obviously, the Shakespeare is the one that just pops in my head right away. So it's incredibly important. Again, it's that mastery of language that you have to have in order to translate your thoughts and ideas to. Because if you don't have that, then it's game over. It's game over, right? Like you're already losing a percentage of what you're trying to communicate. And then tomorrow, when we get into like the listening side, well, forget about it. Forget about it. There's even more opportunity for you to lose efficacy. No, that's the wrong word I'm looking for. But you guys know what I mean. See, I'm not being a good communicator. There's like on the listener side, there's even more opportunity for loss of. Man, I'm drawing a blank on that one. But anyways, we'll talk about it on tomorrow's episode. So I guess the main thing is, be well. It's one of the four agreements, right? Be impeccable with your words, right? Be impeccable with your words. Again, well, here's what I was getting to. Sorry, at the beginning of this episode, I talked about how the internet and the access to this information is I think it fills our head with information we don't necessarily need, and the instantaneous access to that information. I think both of those things together, it turns us into lazy thinkers. I mean, why have a thought or think critically about anything when you can just Google it, right? And so lazy thinking then leads to lazy language because as I said in this video, I mean, all of this communication happens in our minds, and if we're letting all the thinking be done by our smartphones or a smart device, then there's definitely going to be a breakdown in our ability to communicate because we can't verbalize or vocalize our ideas and our thoughts nearly as well because we're relying on technology. So you got to be really be careful of lazy thinking because lazy thinking leads to lazy communication. We must be impeccable with our words. All right, so that's the idea for today. Hopefully that made sense. We'll continue this topic tomorrow. So until then, be well, be safe. We'll see you in the next episode.